11 psychological truths about older women every man should know. There comes a time in a man's life when he begins to realize that attraction, connection, and relationships are far deeper than just physical appeal or surface-level charm. Especially when dealing with women of maturity, those who have lived, loved, lost, and learned, you step into a different realm of emotional complexity and intuitive wisdom. And yet, most men walk into these relationships with outdated assumptions, blind to the nuanced ways older women think, feel, and express affection. You see, older women don't just fall in love with a good smile or a nice gesture. They sense, absorb, and analyze far more than we give them credit for. They might say little, but they see everything. If you're a man who seeks to connect genuinely with a woman beyond youth, beyond games, and beyond ego, then you need to understand her psychology. In this part of our series, we will walk through 11 profound psychological truths about older women. Truths that are not only backed by research, but also affirmed by decades of lived experiences. Each truth is a key, and when used with empathy, awareness, and emotional maturity, it can open a world of deeper intimacy and mutual respect. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about tricks. It's about seeing clearly, feeling deeply, and learning how to meet a woman where she truly lives, in her heart and in her mind. So take a seat, lean in, and listen not just with your ears but with your awareness. What you're about to learn may not only change how you see women, but how you understand yourself. 1. Scent and emotional memory. There's a quiet truth few men know, but every mature woman feels. Scent is memory. It doesn't announce itself like a flashy outfit or a loud joke, but it lingers, deeper, more primal. And for many older women, it's not just a matter of preference. It's the thread that weaves memory, trust, and intimacy together. Scientific studies support this. Women possess around 50% more neurons in the olfactory bulb than men, meaning their sense of smell is not just sharper, it's more emotionally charged. The brain's limbic system, which processes emotions and memories, is directly connected to scent perception. That's why a simple fragrance can transport a woman back to a tender moment from decades ago. A familiar cologne doesn't just smell nice, it feels like safety, warmth, or even desire. For mature women who have lived through the shifting seasons of love, divorce, heartbreak, healing, rediscovery, emotional memory matters more than ever. They don't respond to flash, they respond to substance, and scent often becomes a symbolic signal of whether a man brings chaos or calm. So, what does this mean for you? It means that choosing your scent is not an afterthought. It's an extension of your presence. A musky, grounded cologne can say, "I'm centered." A clean, earthy tone might say, "I live with care." But this isn't about brand names or the most expensive bottle on the shelf. It's about consistency. A scent that becomes part of your identity over time creates a deeper emotional link. Let me tell you a story. A man in his 50s once told me he never thought much of cologne, until his ex-wife mentioned, long after they had separated, that she still remembered the way his neck smelled when they danced. "It wasn't about attraction," she said. "It was about the way I felt safe in that moment." That's the power of scent. For men seeking connection with older women, understand this. You are remembered not only by what you say or do, but by how you make them feel, and scent is the silent courier of that feeling. Be intentional with what lingers after you leave the room. It doesn't take much. A light, subtle application, a commitment to one signature scent, perhaps something with notes of sandalwood, cedar, or vetiver. Earthy and grounded, like the kind of man who knows who he is. You don't need to overwhelm her senses. You just need to become part of her emotional landscape. Because when a woman breathes you in and her heart softens without knowing why, that's not chemistry. That's psychological resonance, and it's far more powerful. 2. Independence over dominance. One of the most misunderstood dynamics in relationships with older women is the idea of dominance. Somewhere along the way, many men picked up the belief that they need to lead, control, or even conquer to be seen as masculine or desirable. But here's the hard truth. Dominance without awareness is just insecurity in disguise. What truly captivates a mature woman isn't power, it's presence. Not control, but inner stability. Older women have outgrown the need to be impressed. They've seen the games. They've dated the peacocks. Some have even married them. And through that journey, many of them learn that being with a man who's always trying to assert himself is exhausting, not attractive. They don't want to be overpowered. They want to be respected. And that means one thing above all else. You must have your own way, your own rhythm, your own thoughts, your own inner compass. It's a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, the kind that listens more than it speaks, the kind that can say, "I hear you," without needing to fix everything. That is the energy of a man who can stand beside a strong woman, not above her. Now let's be clear. This doesn't mean becoming passive. In fact, passivity, especially the kind disguised as politeness or deference, can be just as off-putting as aggression. Women sense when a man is shrinking himself to please them. And let me tell you, neediness is never sexy. What older women crave is balance. A man who is kind but not soft, firm but not harsh. Here's a practical example. Imagine a conversation where she shares something vulnerable, maybe about her past, her insecurities, her doubts. The immature response might be to immediately offer solutions or shift the conversation to yourself. The wiser move? Sit with her in that moment. Hold space. Let her feel seen. Women don't remember men who talk over them. They remember men who make them feel safe, without smothering them. Lawyer. One woman once told me, "The most attractive man I ever met was the one who never tried to change me. He just knew who he was, and that gave me permission to be myself." That's the essence of this truth. If you want to connect with a woman of depth, be a man of depth. Not dominant, not passive, rooted. Speak less about what you own. Show more about what you understand. Because ultimately, the man who has his own way, not to dominate, but to walk his path with integrity, is the one who earns her admiration, not just her attraction. And admiration, that's where real intimacy begins. 3. Unspoken feelings. One of the greatest misunderstandings between men and women, especially as we age, is this. Just because she doesn't say it, doesn't mean she doesn't feel it. Older women are masters of emotional discretion. Life has taught them that not every feeling needs to be spoken, and not every vulnerability should be exposed. They've learned to protect their emotional space, not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. So when a woman feels something for you, she may not announce it, but you'll feel it if you're paying attention. You see, women, especially those with life experience, tend to observe first, feel deeply, and reveal slowly. That's the sequence. And if you're too quick to label her quietness as disinterest, you might miss the unfolding of something meaningful. Here's the nuance. She may already be emotionally tuned into you, even if she hasn't expressed it in words. It could be in the way she glances when she thinks you're not looking, the softness in her voice when she asks how your day was, the subtle shift in her energy when you enter the room. These aren't coincidences, they're signals. But most men don't recognize them because they're too busy trying to impress, to perform, to be noticed. And in doing so, they drown out the quiet invitation of a woman's heart. Here's something you need to know. Older women don't always want you to figure them out. They want you to notice without pressing, to understand without invading. A friend of mine, a 52-year-old woman, once said, "The last man I loved didn't say much. He just knew when to sit next to me and say nothing at all." That kind of presence doesn't come from strategy. It comes from sensitivity. Now here's a crucial warning. If you respond to her silence by slipping into the friend zone too quickly, if you hide your romantic interest under layers of politeness, you may lose the chance altogether. Women appreciate subtlety, but not ambiguity. She doesn't need a grand confession, but she does need to feel that you're emotionally available and open to more. So, how do you walk that line? You make your intentions known, not forcefully, but gently. A well-placed compliment, a moment of eye contact that lingers just long enough. A question that goes one layer deeper than usual. Don't ask, "How was your day?" Ask, "What part of your day made you feel most alive?" Don't say, "You look nice." Say, "You have a presence that's hard to ignore." These are doorways. She'll step through them if she's ready. The key is patience, not pressure. Remember, many older women have been burned before. Their silence isn't rejection, it's reflection, and if you can learn to respect that silence while gently offering your presence, you create something rare. A space where she feels seen, but never cornered. And in that space, feelings begin to speak on their own. 4. Preselection and social value. There's an old saying, if you want to see a man's worth, watch how others respond to him. Crimson out, that wisdom isn't just poetic. It's psychological. Women, particularly those with life experience, often rely on subtle social cues to assess a man's value. And one of the most powerful signals they respond to, whether they admit it or not, is preselection. Preselection is the idea that a man who is desired by other women becomes more attractive in the eyes of a woman. It's not about jealousy, it's about perceived quality. When a woman sees that other women enjoy your company, respect you, or gravitate toward your presence, it sends a powerful subconscious message. If others see value in him, maybe I should look closer. But here's the key. It must be authentic. Older women have a radar for superficiality. If you're using female attention as a tactic or trophy, they'll see right through it. What they actually respond to is social ease. A man who can move in and out of conversations with kindness. A man who listens, not just talks. A man whose presence brings calm rather than chaos into a room. That's what real preselection looks like. Not being surrounded by admirers, but being respected in multiple rooms by people who value your character. Let me tell you something important. Older women are not competing with other women. They're evaluating how you carry yourself when others are around. Do you light up just because someone prettier walks in? Do you change how you act when you're with different people? Or are you grounded, unchanging, steady? One woman I spoke with, divorced at 48, said this to me. I started falling for him when I saw how he treated the waitress, how he looked her in the eye, remembered her name, and made her laugh without flirting. That's when I knew. That's social value. That's the kind of preselection that matters. So how do you cultivate this quality? You don't fake it, you become it. You build meaningful relationships with people of all genders. You show up for your friends. You speak well of your exes. You carry integrity in rooms where no one is watching. And yes, spend time around women. Not to look good, but because female friendships bring balance, emotional intelligence, and insight into your world. When an older woman sees that you're at ease with other women, Not threatened, not chasing, just calm. She knows something valuable about you. You don't need validation. You offer connection. In her eyes, that makes you rare. And in a world full of noise, the rare ones don't shout. They stand out, quietly, completely. 5. Teasing and subtle signals. Flirting isn't always loud. In fact, the older a woman gets, the quieter her signals become, and the more sophisticated they are. One of the most overlooked of these signals is something that many men misinterpret, ignore, or dismiss entirely: teasing. When a woman teases you, gives you a playful nickname, gently mocks your habits, or challenges you with a smirk on her face, pay attention. She's not insulting you. She's inviting you into a dynamic, one that says, "I'm comfortable enough to play with you." And in that playfulness, there's often affection hiding in plain sight. Now, younger women may flirt through overt compliments or attention-seeking, but older women, they've grown tired of performance. Their teasing isn't about putting you down. It's about testing the emotional energy between you. Can you take a joke? Can you keep the dance light and fun? Can you meet her wit with grace? Because here's the truth. Teasing is a kind of intimacy. It's coded, and it only works if you understand the unspoken contract behind it. Mutual safety. A woman who teases you is saying, "I'm open. Are you?" But many men miss it. They either respond too seriously, feeling criticized or defensive, or they overcompensate, trying to one-up her with harsh humor. Neither works. What works is reciprocation with warmth. Let's say she jokes, "You're such a know-it-all, aren't you?" The insecure man will explain himself. The immature man will fire back. The confident man? He'll smile and say, "Only because I'm trying to keep up with you." That's the balance. Playfulness without ego. Lightness without neglecting respect. Teasing also reveals a woman's comfort level. If she feels safe, her guard drops and her humor flows more freely. You'll notice she touches your arm when she makes a joke, or her eyes linger for just a moment longer after a laugh. These are not accidents. They're subtle bridges, and if you walk across them carefully, you move closer without forcing anything. One mature woman once told me, "I tease the men I like, and I ignore the ones I don't." That says it all. So how can you cultivate this dance? First, stop being afraid of play. Masculinity doesn't mean always being stoic or serious. In fact, the ability to play well with a woman, especially one who's intelligent and emotionally complex, is a sign of emotional maturity. Second, listen. Teasing often reveals what she's actually paying attention to. If she jokes about your quirks, it means she's observing you. And observation is a form of intimacy. Finally, give her room to express without judgment.
When a woman's playful side feels accepted, her deeper side starts to emerge. Remember,
Because in the end, teasing isn't childish. It's ancient. It's tribal. It's one of the oldest ways humans test trust. And when done right, with warmth, awareness, and a smile, it's how affection begins to speak without saying a word. 6. Body language fluency. Words matter, but with older women, it's what you don't say that often carries the most weight. Over time, women become exceptionally skilled at reading subtle cues. Experience teaches them that spoken promises can be misleading, but body language rarely lies. For a mature woman, your gestures, posture, gaze, and even your silences speak volumes. And whether you realize it or not, she is constantly reading you. That's not manipulation. It's intuition refined by time. Older women are not just listening to what you say. They're watching how your shoulders tense when you're nervous, how your eyes shift when you're unsure, how your hand pauses midair when you want to reach for them but hesitate. All of that is communication. All of that is felt. If you want to connect with a woman of depth, you must learn to speak her language, without words. Let's break this down practically. Eye contact. Not a stare, not a scan. A calm, steady gaze. One that says, "I'm here with you." Women feel presence through the eyes. Posture. Grounded, open, relaxed. Slouching signals insecurity. Overbearing stances signal aggression. Find the middle ground. Rooted, not rigid. Touch. Appropriate, responsive, and timed. A brief touch on the arm during laughter. A gentle gesture when offering something. These create connection without pressure. Mirroring. Subtly reflecting her tone or pace shows empathy. It says you're emotionally tuned in, not just physically present. But perhaps the most important element? Stillness. Men often underestimate the power of simply being still. Comfortable in silence, not rushing to fill the space, not jittering with nervous energy. A still man is a confident man. And that stillness is where a woman often finds peace. One woman in her 60s once told me, "I knew I could trust him, because when I spoke, he didn't interrupt. He just leaned in, listened, and let my words land." That's body language fluency. It's not about theatrics. It's about presence. Now here's where things get deeper. Body language is a two-way street. If you're paying attention, she's communicating too. The way she shifts toward you during conversation. How her feet point in your direction. Whether she plays with her hair, touches her necklace, or adjusts her posture when you enter the room. Miss those cues, and you miss the moment. That's why awareness, not confidence, is the true key. Confidence may attract, but awareness sustains. It lets you respond, not just react. It helps you read the emotional temperature of the moment and move with grace instead of guesswork. So stop relying solely on words. She hears what your body says long before she processes what your mouth delivers. And if your presence can say, "You're safe here, you're seen, you're respected," you won't have to say much else at all. 7. Visual confidence during intimacy. There's a quiet vulnerability that comes with age, not one of weakness, but of self-awareness. Older women know their bodies have changed. They've lived through years of self-comparison, societal standards, and internal doubts. But when they share intimacy with someone, they're not just offering their body, they're offering trust. And that trust is fragile. What many men don't realize is that during intimate moments, an older woman is often watching your eyes just as much as you're watching her body. Not out of vanity, but out of a deeper question. Am I still seen? Am I still cherished? The answer isn't in the words you say. It's in how you look at her. That's why visual confidence is so powerful. Not arrogance, not entitlement, but calm, grounded appreciation. When your eyes linger on her not with critique, but with reverence, she feels it in her soul. When you tell her she's beautiful and your gaze doesn't flinch, it gives her permission to feel beautiful again, even if the world has told her otherwise. Older women aren't asking for fantasy, they're asking for presence. When you touch her with intention, when you look at her without shame or distraction, when you stay fully present instead of chasing performance, that's where intimacy deepens. One woman in her 50s told me, "I don't want to be admired like I'm younger than I am. I want to be loved for the woman I've become." That's a different kind of desire. It's layered, it's earned. So, what does visual confidence look like? It looks like slowing down, not rushing through foreplay, but savoring it like a conversation. It looks like eye contact during the small moments, zipping a dress, brushing back her hair, watching her smile when she's not guarded. It's in the way you see her, not just her body. It also looks like verbal reinforcement. A gentle, timely compliment, "You look stunning in that," is far more powerful than any line rehearsed in a movie. And when it's followed by sincere, soft eye contact, it lingers far beyond the moment. But here's the real secret. Visual confidence has nothing to do with how she looks, and everything to do with how you make her feel about how she looks. You're not there to assess. You're there to adore. You're not there to impress. You're there to receive her fully, flaws, age, grace, stretch marks, scars, all of it. That's the kind of attention that heals, because the older a woman becomes, the more deeply she craves to be seen for who she is now, not who she was. And when your gaze can say, "You are still wanted. You are still worthy. You are radiant, just like this," you give her a gift the mirror never could. 8. Emotional connection first. If you've ever wondered what truly draws a mature woman in, what creates lasting attraction beyond the initial spark, the answer isn't physical. It isn't status, looks, or clever lines. It's emotional resonance. Older women are rarely moved by surface appeal alone. They've been through enough to know that real connection is built from the inside out, not the outside in. And while physical chemistry still matters, it's the emotional atmosphere you create that allows intimacy to unfold. For many women, especially those past their youth, sex is not an isolated act. It's a culmination of safety, emotional presence, and unspoken understanding. They don't fall for the man who tries to rush to the destination. They fall for the one who pays attention to the journey. This means something important for any man looking to build a real bond. Before you touch her body, you must touch her mind. Ask better questions, not just, "What do you do?" or "Where did you grow up?" Undermined, "What's something you used to believe that you don't anymore?" What gives you peace these days? What kind of love feels safe to you now? These aren't pickup lines. They're doorways. Older women crave the space to be fully expressed without being managed or minimized. They don't want to be fixed. They want to be understood. And understanding begins with slowing down long enough to feel what they are feeling. One woman told me, "The most intimate moment I've ever had wasn't physical. It was when he asked how I was sleeping lately, and then just sat with me while I cried." That's emotional connection. So how do you build it? You listen without interruption, you stay curious without prying, you become emotionally available without demanding the same in return. You allow her to reveal herself at her own pace, without trying to steer or interpret too quickly. And here's the irony. When a woman feels emotionally safe with you, her physical desire often awakens naturally. She's not holding back because she's disinterested. She's holding back because her nervous system is still scanning. Can I trust him with my heart before I give him my body? You don't unlock that door with charm. You unlock it with steadiness. Many men never reach that level of connection because they rush. They lead with performance. They talk more than they feel. And in doing so, they miss the essence of what intimacy truly is. Emotional exposure, met with gentleness. So let this be your compass. When in doubt, don't try to impress her. Try to understand her. Because when a woman feels that you truly get her, not the version she shows the world, but the quiet, tender, wounded, beautiful self underneath, it doesn't just create attraction, it creates trust. And from that trust, love becomes possible. 9. Female friendships versus romance. Here's a truth that may surprise some men. Many older women feel closer to their female friends than to the men they date. That's not an indictment of men. It's a reflection of the depth and emotional safety that women often find in their friendships. Especially as they age, women come to value emotional consistency, mutual support, and being truly heard, qualities they often find more easily with other women than in romantic relationships. You see, friendships between women aren't built on roles or expectations. They're built on empathy and shared emotional language. There are no pressure dynamics, no posturing, no games, just presence. And when a woman sits down with her closest friend, she doesn't need to earn affection. She already has it. That can make dating, especially in middle age or beyond, feel jarring. Because now she has to navigate another person's ego, expectations, and emotional limitations, often after decades of disappointment. One woman in her early 60s told me bluntly, "With my girlfriends, I don't have to explain my silence. They just get it. With most men, I feel like I'm translating my heart into a language they don't speak." That should wake us up. As men, if we want to build meaningful romantic connections with older women, we have to learn from the way they connect with each other. That means listening more deeply, being present without needing to fix, showing up consistently, not just when there's a need to be met or a reward to be gained. It also means respecting her friendships, not feeling threatened by them. Far too many men make the mistake of viewing her female relationships as competition, when in reality, they're the very foundation of her emotional well-being. If she turns to her best friend after a long day, it doesn't mean she doesn't care for you. It means she trusts someone who has shown up for her consistently over years. If anything, her friendships give you a roadmap. Pay attention to how she interacts with the women she trusts. That's the level of safety she longs for in romance too. Not to be coddled, not to be pursued endlessly, but to be understood without needing to explain everything. When a man can offer that kind of emotional intelligence, something remarkable happens. She no longer needs to compartmentalize, no longer has to go to her girlfriends for depth and her partner for companionship. Instead, she begins to see you as both lover and confidant, which is a rare and cherished role. So the question is not, why does she confide in her friends more than in me? The better question is, how can I make her feel just as emotionally safe here, with me? Because once she feels that, once she realizes she doesn't have to choose between connection and desire, she'll start letting you into the spaces she's only reserved for the people who truly see her. 10. Motivations for dating. Let's get honest. Not every woman dates for love. That may sound cynical, but it's not meant to be. It's simply a reminder that motivations vary, and the older a woman gets, the more layered those motivations become. Some women date for companionship, some for emotional support, others, yes, for the occasional free dinner, or to ease the sting of loneliness on a Friday night. It's not always romantic. It's not always about building a future. Sometimes it's just about feeling human again, desired, noticed, alive. A 2019 study found that nearly 38% of women admitted to accepting dates without romantic interest, often for social engagement or convenience. That doesn't make them manipulative, it makes them human. It reveals something deeper. There's often a gap between what a woman feels she's allowed to ask for emotionally and what she thinks she can receive safely. And this is where many men go wrong. They assume that interest in a date equals interest in them. But for older women especially, dating is often a trial of trust, not just attraction. So how can you tell what her motivation is? You don't accuse. You observe. Does she ask personal questions? Or does she keep things superficial? Is she present or distracted? Does she follow up with you emotionally, or only when plans are involved? Tangled, and perhaps most importantly, does your time together feel mutual or transactional? One gentleman I know, early 50s, successful, kind-hearted, once shared that he felt confused after several short-lived flings. I took them out, I listened, I made space, he said. But something felt off. It was like they were checking a box, not opening a door. That feeling, it matters. Don't ignore it. But don't become jaded either. Because the truth is, many women don't start off dating with the purest intentions. Not because they're playing games, but because they're guarded. Life has taught them to lead with caution. But when a man shows consistency, clarity, and emotional awareness, it often softens those defenses. She may have agreed to meet casually, but she's still capable of connecting deeply. If you meet her with authenticity, here's the invitation. Stop focusing on what she wants from the date. Start focusing on what energy you're bringing to it. If you come with expectation, you may leave frustrated. If you come with curiosity and self-respect, you'll walk away with insight, whether or not it turns into a relationship. So when you meet her, don't ask yourself, does she like me? Ask, are we aligned in what we're here for? Because not every date becomes a romance. But every date reveals something about her, about the moment, and about yourself. And when you learn to read that clearly, you won't fear being used. You'll become the one who chooses with clarity. 11. Conflict and comfort. If there's one thing older women tend to lose patience for, it's emotional volatility. Drama without depth. Arguments without purpose. Apologies without change. They've been through too much to be impressed by passion that burns hot, but lacks direction. What they crave instead is something far less glamorous, but far more enduring. Emotional stability. This doesn't mean avoiding conflict. In fact, many older women prefer a man who can engage in hard conversations without flinching. What they don't want is someone who turns every disagreement into a power struggle or disappears the moment tension arises. You see, conflict isn't the problem. Immaturity is. Mature women understand that real intimacy isn't forged in the easy moments. It's shaped in how you both handle the difficult ones. When misunderstandings surface, do you listen or defend? When she's upset, do you stay present or shut down? Your answer to those questions tells her everything. One woman I spoke with, divorced at 58, told me, "What I wanted most in a man wasn't someone who never upset me. It was someone who didn't leave when things got hard." That's comfort. And it's rare. Comfort, in this context, doesn't mean easy. It means safe. It means she can show her messy, vulnerable, contradictory self and know she won't be punished for it. That's what earns trust. That's what keeps her coming back. So how do you create that emotional safety? Start by slowing your reactions. Don't try to win the argument. Try to understand where it's coming from. Older women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for awareness. The ability to name your emotions without making her responsible for fixing them. Be the man who says, "I hear you. Give me a moment to really sit with what you said." That one sentence alone can change the energy in the room. Next, own your part. If you mess up, and you will, apologize sincerely. Not with excuses or conditions, but with clarity. Say what you regret. Say what you've learned. And say what you'll do differently next time. That's growth. And growth is sexy. Finally, show consistency. Comfort isn't built in words. It's built in repetition. Showing up again and again, even when things are tense. Especially when things are tense. Because older women know real love shows itself in how you weather the storm, not how you dance in the sun. They're not impressed by how quickly you say, "I love you." They're watching to see what happens the first time you disappoint them. Do you shut down? Or do you lean in? Do you run? Or do you repair? In the end, Comfort isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of respect during conflict. And when she sees that in you, when she feels emotionally safe even in the hard moments, she won't just stay. She'll soften. She'll trust. She'll let love grow. In a world that often glorifies youth and speed, older women offer us something far more valuable: depth, substance, and soul. To truly understand them is to open the door to more meaningful relationships, not just with them, but with yourself. These 11 truths are not commandments, but invitations to grow in empathy, to sharpen your perception, and to redefine what love and connection look like beyond the superficial. You don't need to be rich, handsome, or endlessly charismatic to win the heart of a mature woman. You need presence. You need honesty. You need the courage to meet her as she is and to let her meet you the same way. These women have no time for games. They want truth, energy, and emotional safety. So take what you've learned and apply it with gentleness. Ask questions instead of assuming. Listen instead of performing. And above all, show up as someone grounded, real, and curious. Because in the end, that's what love asks of all of us, to be fully awake in the presence of another soul. And older women? They can tell if you are or not. Every time.